Ladies and gentlemen, the foundation of any meaningful relationship lies in the principles of honesty and integrity. Without these, relationships become fragile and shallow, incapable of withstanding the inevitable challenges and pressures of life. When a man finds himself involved with two women simultaneously, the absence of honesty is almost always at the core of the situation. This lack of transparency not only undermines the trust of those directly involved, but also corrodes the man's sense of self-worth and identity over time. Let us examine why honesty and integrity are so crucial. Human beings are social creatures. Our ability to form bonds and build relationships is essential to our survival and flourishing. These bonds, whether romantic, familial, or platonic, are predicated on mutual understanding and trust. When trust is broken, the entire foundation of the relationship begins to crumble. Imagine a structure built on weak, unsteady ground. It may appear to stand tall for a time, but the first strong gust of wind will reveal its instability. Similarly, relationships lacking honesty may seem functional at a surface level, but they cannot withstand the deeper tests of time and adversity. Deception within relationships introduces complexity where there should be simplicity. When a man is dealing with two women, he is by necessity engaging in some form of concealment or misrepresentation. This creates a psychological burden, as maintaining such duplicity requires constant mental effort. He must keep track of what he has said, ensure that the truth does not surface inadvertently, and navigate the emotional responses of both parties. Over time, this kind of mental strain leads to stress, anxiety, and even resentment, both towards himself and the individuals he is deceiving. It is a chaotic state, one that prevents the man from truly connecting with either woman or with himself. The dishonesty at play in such scenarios extends beyond lies of omission or commission. It involves a fundamental misrepresentation of intent. To commit to a relationship is to offer a promise, explicit or implicit, of exclusivity and emotional investment. By dividing his attention between two women, the man is betraying that promise, even if he has not explicitly voiced it. This betrayal does not merely hurt the women involved, it diminishes the man's own character. Over time, a pattern of deceit becomes a part of his identity, shaping how he views himself and his interactions with others. Integrity, in contrast, offers clarity and strength. A man who acts with integrity is aligned with his values and principles, creating a sense of inner peace and consistency. He does not have to expend energy maintaining falsehoods because his words and actions are congruent with one another. This congruence builds confidence and allows for deeper, more meaningful connections. The strength of a relationship is determined not by the absence of conflict, but by the presence of mutual respect and trust. Without integrity, such respect cannot exist. Moreover, honesty is not merely about refraining from lying. It is about a commitment to truthfulness, even when it is uncomfortable or inconvenient. In relationships, this means being forthright about one's intentions, feelings, and limitations. It requires courage, as the truth is often difficult to confront. Yet it is only through such confrontations that growth and understanding are possible. A man who tells the truth, even when it is difficult, demonstrates respect for the women involved and for himself. He acknowledges their capacity to handle the truth and affirms their worth by refusing to manipulate or mislead them. The damage caused by dishonesty is not confined to the individuals directly involved. Relationships exist within larger social and familial networks. When a man deceives two women, he sets in motion a chain reaction of hurt and disillusionment that can ripple outward. Families may be drawn into the conflict, friends may be forced to take sides, and children, if present, may bear the emotional scars of the fallout. Consequences of dishonesty are rarely contained. They spread, creating dysfunction and pain far beyond the immediate circle. The antidote to this destructive cycle is a commitment to honesty and integrity from the outset. This does not mean perfection. All human beings are fallible and mistakes will happen. However, it does mean striving to act in accordance with one's highest principles and taking responsibility when one falls short. A man who values integrity does not seek to avoid accountability. Instead, He embraces it as an opportunity for growth and improvement. In choosing integrity, a man chooses to live in alignment with his deepest values. He forgoes the fleeting gratification of deceit for the lasting satisfaction of meaningful connections. He accepts the challenges and sacrifices that come with being truthful because he understands that they are necessary for building a life of substance and worth. Integrity is not a luxury or an abstract ideal. It is a practical necessity for anyone seeking to build relationships that endure and thrive. Ultimately, the choice to act with integrity is a choice to embrace the truth of who we are and who we aspire to become. It is an acknowledgement that our actions shape not only our relationships, but also our character and our legacy. In the context of relationships, this means choosing to honor the trust and vulnerability of others, even when it is difficult. It means recognizing that deception, no matter how skillfully executed, ultimately leads to destruction, while honesty and integrity pave the way for connection, understanding, and growth. When a man divides his attention between two women in romantic relationships, he introduces an element of chaos into his life and theirs. This chaos is not merely emotional, but extends to the practical and psychological dimensions of existence. Human beings thrive on structure and predictability, especially within their most intimate relationships, which serve as foundations of stability and security. The act of dividing one's attention disrupts this equilibrium, creating a web of confusion, mistrust, and unmet expectations that ultimately destabilizes all parties involved. Relationships require focus and dedication to flourish. To genuinely connect with another person, one must invest time, energy, and emotional availability. These resources, however, are finite. When a man attempts to maintain two romantic relationships simultaneously, he is essentially splitting these limited resources, leaving neither connection adequately nourished. Both women may sense a lack of full engagement, even if they cannot immediately identify the cause. Over time, this partial investment erodes the depth and authenticity of both relationships, leaving each partner feeling undervalued and misunderstood. The divided attention also has a cumulative psychological toll on the man himself. Juggling the emotional and logistical demands of two relationships requires constant calculation and adjustment. He must manage expectations, maintain appearances, and ensure that neither party discovers the truth of the other's existence. This constant state of vigilance is exhausting and unsustainable. It fosters a heightened state of anxiety as the man lives in perpetual fear of being exposed. This fear seeps into other areas of life, affecting his overall well-being, performance at work, and interactions with friends and family. The chaos of divided attention, therefore, becomes a pervasive influence, disrupting not only his relationships, but his broader sense of order and purpose. Furthermore, this chaos extends beyond the immediate participants to affect the social fabric surrounding them. Relationships are seldom isolated. They exist within a network of family, friends, and acquaintances. When a man involves himself with two women, the duplicity inevitably strains these broader connections. Friends may feel conflicted about whether to condone or condemn his actions, while family members may struggle with divided loyalties. If children are involved, the emotional consequences can be even more profound, as they may witness and internalize the instability and dishonesty at play. The ripple effects of divided attention often lead to a breakdown in communication, which exacerbates the chaos. In an effort to keep both relationships intact, the man may resort to withholding information or outright lying. This erodes the foundation of trust that is essential for any healthy relationship. Trust, once broken, is extraordinarily difficult to rebuild, and the emotional scars it leaves can linger long after the relationships themselves have ended. The women involved may become distrustful of future partners, carrying the pain of betrayal into their subsequent interactions. In this way, the chaos of divided attention perpetuates a cycle of harm that extends far beyond the immediate situation. This scenario also highlights a deeper philosophical issue, the conflict between short-term gratification and long-term fulfillment. Dividing attention between two women may provide a sense of excitement or novelty in the short term, but it undermines the possibility of building a lasting and meaningful connection with either. Genuine intimacy requires vulnerability, commitment, and the willingness to face challenges together. When attention is divided, these essential components are diluted, leaving both relationships superficial and unfulfilling. Moreover, the chaos created by divided attention often leads to a distorted sense of self. To manage two relationships, the man may adopt different personas or behaviors to suit each partner. Over time, this compartmentalization can create a fragmented identity. As he struggles to reconcile the different versions of himself, this lack of coherence can lead to feelings of emptiness and confusion as the man loses touch with his authentic self. In attempting to please everyone, he may ultimately please no one, including himself. The antidote to this chaos is clarity and commitment. By choosing to fully invest in one relationship, a man can create a stable foundation for growth and connection. This requires not only honesty with others, but also with himself. He must confront the underlying motivations and insecurities that led him to pursue multiple relationships in the first place. This process of self-examination can be uncomfortable, but it is essential for breaking free from the cycle of chaos and creating a life of purpose and integrity. It is important to recognize that the chaos of divided attention is not merely a personal failing, but a symptom of broader societal pressures and norms. In a culture that often glorifies superficial connections and instant gratification, the value of commitment and depth is frequently overlooked. By choosing to prioritize focus and authenticity, a man not only improves his own life, but also challenges these harmful cultural narratives. He becomes a role model for others, demonstrating that it is possible to create meaningful relationships built on trust and mutual respect. Ultimately, the chaos of divided attention is a powerful reminder of the importance of intentionality in relationships. By fully committing to one person, a man can create a space of stability and trust that allows both partners to thrive. This choice requires courage and discipline, but the rewards are immeasurable. In choosing clarity over chaos, he affirms his own worth and the worth of his partner, creating a foundation for a life of meaning and fulfillment. Relationships are among the most significant responsibilities a person undertakes. They are not merely sources of pleasure or companionship. They require effort, understanding, and a deep commitment to fostering growth and harmony. When a man involves himself with two women simultaneously, he compromises his ability to fulfill the responsibilities inherent in either relationship. This divided focus not only diminishes the quality of his connections, but also demonstrates a failure to grasp the gravity of relational accountability. At its core, responsibility in relationships means recognizing that the other person is not merely a participant in your life, but an individual with their own emotions, needs, and aspirations. When two women are involved, the man must acknowledge that his actions directly affect their emotional well-being. Each woman places trust in him, invests time and energy into the relationship, and likely builds hopes around its future. To take on such trust and then undermine it through divided loyalty is a profound failure of responsibility. Responsibility also entails consistency. A committed relationship provides a sense of stability and predictability, allowing both partners to feel secure and valued. When attention is split, this consistency is lost. The man is unable to fully dedicate himself to the needs of either partner, leading to feelings of neglect or misunderstanding. The women may notice subtle signs of his inattention, missed opportunities for connection, a lack of emotional depth, or inconsistencies in behavior. Over time, these small fractures accumulate, leading to larger breakdowns in trust and intimacy. This situation becomes even more precarious when the emotional stakes are high. Relationships are rarely neutral. They evoke deep feelings of love, vulnerability, and, at times, pain. By failing to shoulder the full responsibility of his role, the man risks causing significant emotional harm. The women involved may feel betrayed or devalued when they discover the truth, experiencing emotions ranging from anger and sadness to deep-seated mistrust in future relationships. The emotional scars left by such experiences can linger for years, affecting not only the immediate parties, but also their broader social and familial relationships. Moreover, responsibility in relationships extends beyond the individuals directly involved. Romantic connections exist within a larger social framework that includes family, friends, and community. When a man is dealing with two women, he introduces a layer of complexity that affects these wider networks. Friends may be drawn into the situation, forced to navigate loyalties or even conceal information. Family dynamics may be strained, particularly if one or both relationships are serious enough to involve future commitments. The ripple effects of divided attention and irresponsibility extend far beyond the immediate relationships, creating dysfunction and conflict within the broader social web. Another critical aspect of relational responsibility is fostering mutual growth. Healthy relationships are partnerships in which both individuals support each other's personal development and well-being. This requires a significant investment of time, energy, and emotional presence. When a man divides his attention between two women, he inevitably diminishes his capacity to contribute meaningfully to either partnership. The women may feel unsupported or undervalued, and the man himself may become overwhelmed by the demands of maintaining dual connections. In this state, none of the relationships can reach their full potential. The failure to take responsibility in such situations often stems from a deeper unwillingness to confront one's own insecurities or desires. Engaging with two women may be an attempt to avoid commitment, fear of missing out, or an effort to validate oneself through external attention. However, these underlying issues can never be resolved through deception or divided focus. True growth comes from facing these insecurities head-on, acknowledging their presence, and working to address them in a constructive manner. This process requires honesty, both with oneself and with others, and a willingness to take full accountability for one's actions. So, taking responsibility also means recognizing the long-term consequences of one's behavior. Involvement with two women may offer short-term excitement or validation, but it ultimately leads to pain, confusion, and a sense of emptiness. Relationships built on dishonesty or avoidance of responsibility are unsustainable. They collapse under the weight of unmet expectations and unresolved tensions. The emotional cost of such failures is significant, not only for the women involved, but also for the man himself. He may carry feelings of guilt, regret, or shame, and these emotions can hinder his ability to form healthy relationships in the future. The path to fulfilling relational responsibility begins with clarity and intention. A man must first decide what he truly wants from his relationships and align his actions with those intentions. This requires courage, as it may involve difficult conversations, the possibility of conflict, or the need to let go of certain desires. However, the rewards of this approach far outweigh the discomfort. By taking full responsibility for his actions, a man creates relationships that are authentic, meaningful, and capable of enduring challenges. Responsibility is not merely a burden, it is an opportunity. When embraced fully, it allows a man to grow as an individual and to contribute positively to the lives of those he loves. It is through responsibility that he demonstrates respect, not only for others, but also for himself. A responsible man is one who values the trust placed in him and strives to honor that trust through his actions. He recognizes that relationships are not games to be played, but commitments to be upheld, and he acts accordingly. In choosing to fully embrace the responsibilities of a relationship, a man sets a standard for himself and others. He becomes a source of stability and strength, providing a foundation upon which meaningful connections can flourish. He demonstrates that true fulfillment comes not from divided attention or fleeting pleasures, but from the depth and richness of a committed partnership. Responsibility, then, is not only the key to healthy relationships, but also to a life of purpose and integrity. The mismanagement of emotions within the context of dealing with two women simultaneously creates a profound ripple effect of harm, not just for the individuals directly involved, but for everyone in their immediate circles. Emotions are the lifeblood of relationships. They form the foundation upon which trust, connection, and intimacy are built. When emotions are manipulated, neglected, or mismanaged, relationships devolve into sources of pain and dysfunction rather than fulfillment. In this scenario, the emotional dishonesty inherent in maintaining two relationships undermines the potential for genuine connection and causes significant damage to all parties involved. This defies the laws of physics and everything that we have learned of the world as it is now. At the heart of emotional mismanagement is deception. When a man involves himself with two women, he is engaging in a form of emotional dishonesty, whether it manifests as outright lies, omissions, or the withholding of key truths. Such dishonesty erodes trust, a critical component of any healthy relationship. Trust is not merely an abstract concept. It is the sense of security that allows individuals to be vulnerable with one another. Without trust, vulnerability becomes a risk rather than a strength, and the emotional intimacy necessary for a meaningful relationship cannot thrive. The act of deception also places a heavy emotional burden on the deceiver. Maintaining the illusion of two separate, functional relationships requires constant effort and vigilance. The man must navigate conflicting schedules, remember details about each relationship, and avoid exposing the truth. This creates a state of perpetual anxiety as the fear of being discovered looms over every interaction. The mental energy expended in maintaining these falsehoods leaves little room for authentic emotional engagement with either woman, further deepening the divide between them and eroding the quality of the relationships. For the women involved, the emotional toll can be devastating. Discovering that a partner has been involved with another person often triggers feelings of betrayal, anger, and sadness. These emotions are not only immediate, but can have lasting effects, shaping how the women perceive themselves, their worth, and their ability to trust others in the future. They may question their own judgment, wondering how they could have missed the signs or allowed themselves to be deceived. Such self-doubt can lead to diminished self-esteem, creating a cycle of emotional vulnerability that persists long after the relationship has ended. Beyond the immediate individuals, the emotional fallout extends to the broader network of people connected to the relationships. Friends and family members who were invested in the relationships may feel hurt, betrayed, or caught in the middle of the conflict. If the relationships were public, the exposure of the deception can lead to social embarrassment and alienation for everyone involved. In cases where children are present, the emotional consequences become even more profound. Children who witness or learn about such deception may struggle to understand the dynamics, internalize the conflict, or even develop trust issues themselves. Emotional mismanagement also disrupts the ability to build a stable and meaningful future. Relationships are often viewed as a foundation upon which individuals build their lives, emotionally, socially, and even financially. When emotions are mishandled, this foundation becomes unstable, jeopardizing the long-term potential of the relationships. The energy that could have been invested in mutual growth, shared goals, and deeper connection is instead diverted into managing the chaos and fallout of the deception. The root of this emotional mismanagement often lies in an unwillingness to confront difficult truths. The man may avoid acknowledging his true feelings, his inability to commit, or his fear of missing out on opportunities. Instead of addressing these insecurities constructively, he seeks temporary gratification through divided attention. However, this approach only exacerbates the problem as the unresolved emotional issues continue to manifest in destructive ways. True emotional maturity requires a willingness to face one's vulnerabilities and to act with integrity, even when it is difficult. There is also a broader cultural dimension to consider. Modern society often glorifies the pursuit of multiple connections, framing it as a sign of success, desirability, or freedom. However, this perspective neglects the emotional cost of such behavior. The pursuit of quantity over quality in relationships leads to shallow connections that lack the depth and fulfillment of genuine emotional intimacy. So, by rejecting this cultural narrative and embracing the values of honesty and commitment, individuals can create relationships that are not only healthier, but also more meaningful. The antidote to emotional mismanagement is intentionality. This begins with self-awareness, understanding one's own emotions, motivations, and limitations. A man must recognize the impact of his actions on others and take responsibility for managing his emotions in a way that fosters trust and stability. This includes being honest about his intentions, setting clear boundaries, and committing to one relationship at a time. Emotional integrity is not about perfection, but about striving to act in ways that align with one's values and principles. Additionally, effective communication is essential. By openly discussing feelings, concerns, and expectations, all parties can work together to create a relationship dynamic that is healthy and fulfilling. This requires vulnerability and the courage to have difficult conversations, but the rewards are immense. Through honest communication, individuals can build stronger connections, resolve conflicts, and create a sense of emotional safety. Ultimately, emotional mismanagement in relationships is a failure to respect the inherent value of the people involved. By treating emotions as disposable or secondary, a man diminishes the humanity of his partners and himself. In contrast, emotional responsibility affirms the worth of everyone involved and creates the conditions for growth, trust, and fulfillment. It is only by embracing this responsibility that relationships can move beyond chaos and pain to become sources of true connection and joy. When a man engages with two women romantically at the same time, it often reflects a deeper personal and ethical imbalance that ripples outward, affecting everyone involved. This imbalance is not just about the practical or emotional challenges of juggling two relationships. It is a manifestation of unresolved internal conflicts and a lack of self-alignment. At its core, this behavior signifies a gap between personal values and actions, leading to an erosion of integrity and self-respect, which invariably harms all parties. At the heart of such situations lies a fundamental disconnection within the individual. A man who chooses to divide his romantic attention often does so out of fear, insecurity, or an unmet emotional need. He may fear committing fully to one person, worrying about whether the relationship will satisfy his desires or meet his expectations. Alternatively, he may crave validation, seeking affirmation from multiple sources to bolster his sense of self-worth. In either case, this behavior reflects an internal misalignment, a failure to reconcile his desires with his responsibilities and values. This misalignment is not without consequence. The man's inability to fully commit or to be transparent with either woman creates an atmosphere of uncertainty and instability. Both women may sense, consciously or subconsciously, that something is amiss. Even if the relationships appear functional on the surface, the lack of full presence and genuine connection often leads to feelings of dissatisfaction, insecurity, and emotional distance. Over time, these fractures deepen, making it nearly impossible for any of the relationships to thrive. Additionally, the man's internal imbalance often manifests as a lack of clarity and decisiveness. Romantic relationships require intentionality, a clear sense of purpose, and direction. When a man is torn between two women, he lacks the focus needed to nurture and grow either relationship effectively. This indecision not only hampers the relationships, but also diminishes the man's own sense of agency and confidence. Instead of taking charge of his life and relationships, he becomes reactive, constantly managing the fallout of his choices rather than proactively building something meaningful in his life. This pattern of behavior also points to a deeper issue, the inability or unwillingness to confront uncomfortable truths. Engaging with two women simultaneously often involves a web of deception, rationalization, and avoidance. The man may tell himself that he is not hurting anyone, that the situation is temporary, or that he is simply keeping his options open. However, these justifications are often attempts to mask the reality of the harm being caused to others and to himself. By avoiding the truth, he not only perpetuates the situation, but also deprives himself of the opportunity for growth and self-improvement. The ethical consequences of this imbalance are profound. Romantic relationships are built on mutual trust, respect, and honesty. When a man engages with two women without their knowledge or consent, he violates these principles, undermining the very foundation of the relationships. This breach of trust has a lasting impact, leaving the women involved feeling betrayed, devalued, and emotionally wounded. These wounds are not easily healed. They often linger, affecting the women's ability to trust future partners and to engage in healthy, fulfilling relationships. Furthermore, the ethical imbalance in such situations is not limited to the immediate relationships. It has broader societal implications, reinforcing harmful patterns of behavior and attitudes. By engaging in deception and divided attention, the man contributes to a culture of relational instability and mistrust. This not only affects the individuals directly involved, but also sets a poor example for others, perpetuating cycles of dishonesty and emotional harm. Addressing this imbalance requires a deep commitment to self-reflection and personal growth. The man must confront the underlying motivations and insecurities that led to his behavior, asking himself difficult questions about his values, priorities, and intentions. This process of introspection is not easy. It requires honesty, humility, and the willingness to face uncomfortable truths. Unquote. However, it is only through such self-examination that he can begin to realign his actions with his values and rebuild his sense of integrity. Taking responsibility for one's actions is a critical step in this process. The man must acknowledge the harm he has caused and take active steps to make amends, both to the women involved and to himself. This may involve having difficult conversations, offering sincere apologies, and making a clear commitment to change. Responsibility is not about dwelling on past mistakes, but about learning from them and using those lessons to create a better future. In addition to personal accountability, the man must cultivate the skills and qualities necessary for healthy, balanced relationships. This includes developing emotional intelligence, effective communication, and the ability to set and respect boundaries. These skills are not innate, they require effort and practice. By investing in these areas, the man can create relationships that are not only more ethical, but also more fulfilling and resilient. Ultimately, the process of addressing internal and ethical imbalances is not just about repairing relationships. It is about becoming a better, more authentic version of oneself. By aligning actions with values, the man creates a life of greater integrity, purpose, and meaning. This transformation benefits not only himself, but also those around him, fostering relationships that are built on trust, respect, and mutual growth. In the end, the imbalance that arises from engaging with two women simultaneously is a symptom of a deeper need for alignment and authenticity. By confronting this imbalance head-on, the man has the opportunity to grow, to heal, and to create relationships that reflect the best of who he is and who he aspires to become. Through this process, he can move beyond the chaos and harm of divided attention and build a life characterized by clarity, connection, and ethical integrity. The entire discourse culminates in a single, unyielding truth. Relationships are not trivial pursuits, but profound commitments that require honesty, responsibility, and ethical alignment. When a man involves himself with two women simultaneously, he creates a landscape fraught with emotional deception, instability, and harm. Such a choice reflects deeper issues: mismanagement of emotions, failure to honor relational responsibilities, and an internal misalignment between actions and values. True growth and fulfillment in relationships demand that we confront our insecurities, take responsibility for our actions, and align our behavior with our principles. A meaningful relationship cannot flourish in the shadow of divided loyalty and dishonesty. It requires clarity, intentionality, and the courage to face hard truths about oneself and one's desires. By embracing the virtues of integrity and responsibility, a man not only strengthens his relationships, but also enriches his own character. He becomes a source of stability and trust, building connections that are authentic, enduring, and capable of withstanding life's challenges. In doing so, he not only honors the women in his life, but also fulfills his potential as a person of integrity and purpose. Let this be the guiding principle for all who seek to navigate the complexities of human connection. that only through truth, accountability, and genuine commitment can we create relationships worthy of the trust placed in us.